Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. And for you new people out there, go ahead and subscribe. It's free, and we appreciate it. So today we're working on the go-kart. Today is motor day. We're going to try to get this motor up and running and get it cleaned up, make it look nice. I'm not shooting for perfect. I want it to look good, though. I want it to look a whole lot better than this mess we've got here. So let's have a look at it. Let's get started.
We're ready to go.
Okay. So you can see she's a pretty good looking motor. The motor itself seems to be complete. It's absolutely covered in grease, but that's expected. And I pull the cord, and it does seem to pull okay, and I feel the compression stroke, so I think this one's got a chance. First thing I'm going to do is pull the carburetor off. Where's the carburetor at? This one's kind of nice. Oh, let's hit some lights. There we go. We're going to pull the carburetor off and see if she's savable. And it's got a reasonable air filter. Air filter looks better than the cover. That's a good sign. So let's get the carburetor. No, that was pretty easy. Okay, there's our airbox whatnot. Okay, what do we got here? This thing's probably been out of fuel for the last decade. Oh yeah, the tank's high and dry, so we don't have to worry about the fuel lines. And I take that back. We do have to worry about them, but we're going to go ahead and put new ones on before we're done. Let's pull the carburetor off. There we go. That should spin free now. These Tecumseh carburetors can be a pain in the butt, but lucky enough, will that spin? Yes, it will. Can't help but think that this has been off before. She's coming off really easy. Yeah, if you look, the clamp isn't all the way on. Fuel clamp is, though. You get something this old, new fuel lines are a must, because you know they're going to be all corroded and probably coming apart at the inside from ethanol. Now let's go ahead and cut this guy. We know we're going to put a new one in anyway. That way we can spin the carburetor off of the linkage. Come on, buddy. I said we can spin the carburetor off the linkage. Oh, that's interesting. The linkage is nothing more than what looks like a piece of a paper clip. It's obviously not, but it's an interesting design. Okay, very nice. Everything inside appears to be pretty whole. Pretty happy with that. Now our fuel line goes under the cylinder. Let's take a look at that. Let me bring you in there tight. Our fuel line goes under the cylinder here. And that's just our breather. So we are definitely going to replace the fuel line because I'm sure heat was rough on that over the years. But before we do that, let's clean up the carburetor. We're not going to spend any time at all restoring this engine or cleaning it up in any way until we know it runs. So job one is put a fuel line and a carburetor on it, and maybe a new spark plug. We'll see what it needs. And then we'll see what we've got for an engine. Oof, rust. That's not good. Nope. Let's go for the 1/2 inch. There we go. Everything was coming apart easy, clear up to this part. And she's good to go too. Now that's new. I can't say I've seen that before, but it could be stock on this engine. Looks like some sort of odd gasket material. Oh, our worst enemy. One thing you don't want to find inside of a carburetor is rust. Funny enough, our needle does move. I think just because it's got rust on it, I'm going to go ahead and replace it. We could clean all this up, but it's barely worth it. And I'm sure I've got a Tecumseh carburetor sitting around here. Okay, there's one. There's our fuel line. There's two. Looks like we got one somewhere on the other side. That's deeper around. I don't see it. See, now I'm wiggling it and looking for the pivot. Seems to pivot up. There we go. That's it. Let's go ahead and cut the fuel line off, since we know a new one's coming anyway. And there we have it. One nice, pretty little motor. I noticed one of the things that this Kart doesn't have is a off switch. So what we're going to do, well, we've got the tank off, so we're going to pull the side cover off and wire an off switch for the front into this. But let's go ahead and finish breaking her down. Oh, that's not going to work. Let's go to a 3/8. And we're taking this off because we're going to clean it up and paint it. Before we're done, this will look like a reasonable motor. We just got just a little bit of everything holding this motor on. Holding it together, I should say. Let's pull that off. And I can see one little bitty one here. And there might be something on this side. Let's find something in the screw gun department for that one. I'm going to go with this guy. Perfect. Doesn't have quite the oomph the screw gun's got. Okay, now the only thing holding us together should be the spring. And it is, so let's very gently get that spring out of the way. And this is kind of nice because this puts us in a position where it's much easier to clean things. Okay, buddy. Come on, buddy. Show me some love. Oh, it comes right to the edge and then pops out. Let's do this. Trying not to bend the spring up any, because then we'll be buying a spring. We don't need that on this fine Tuesday morning. Come on, come on. There we go. There we go. Now it's just a couple of wires. And you can see she turns free and there's plenty of compression. So very nice. And this is where you attach your secondary kill wire. We'll run off of this wire and we'll run another wire up to the front. We'll run a wire out of the case for the moment. Now you can see our fuel line actually goes through here. That's going to be a little bit entertaining to get another one in. But what are you going to do? We can go ahead and cut this up here. See if we can pull it through the other way. Now I would reroute this fuel line a different way, and we still might, because there might be a better way to run this line where it's not running up against the engine. This is just a plain old rubber line. Well, it was. It's kind of a rubber line now. And there we have it. That's our base motor. So the next job is get everything all cleaned up and get a new fuel line, and then we'll put it all back together a little bit cleaned up and see what we've got. See if it's running. Now for the funnest part of all, putting it all back together. So we got lots of slack in our fuel line now. So we'll do it first. Because we know once we put it on, we're going to be working inside all that. And it's just a pain in the neck to get to. This clamp is tiny with the new fuel line. So we're probably going to have to do a little Ouija to get the clamp on. Go right up to the edges. And it's going a little bit. There you go. It's going a little bit more. It's going a whole lot more. There you go. And that looks pretty good. Nice and tight. Now, if you took pictures when we were doing this before, this part's pretty easy. If you didn't take pictures, then you're going to want to make notes now. Note that hook's on the inside, from the inside there, and it comes down to the last hole in the corner. You hook that on, there you go, like that. Now, it looks pretty flimsy right now, but once you get everything together, it'll stick pretty good. Now we'll just start the first threads of the bolts just to get the gasket to hang into place. La la la. There we go. Then you see it popped right out. Once all the springs and everything are in place, it'll hold it to one side. But while you're putting the carb on, it can be a little bit fidgety. See, because once the spring's in, this will be like this permanently. Let's get one bolt through. Where's the other one at? There you are. There you go. Now we just throw some nuts on and we're good to go. There's one. And of course, make sure your gasket stays in place. This is really hard to reach. So we're going to use the screw to do it.
Motion detected at the front door.
Very nice. And very nice. That's good to go. And you're good to go. And our linkage is in place. Everything looks good. And now next up is the side cover. I was originally talking about adding a kill wire, but I realized that this wire here is a kill wire. It's just insulated away from the case. It's in a rubber stop here. So all I have to do is wire something up to it to make a kill switch for the front of the cart. The fuel line looks good. Oh. Let's put the good old pollution control line on before we do that. There we go. Now we're all good to go. Okay, the wires are in. Everything out of the way. She's almost there. She's low at the bottom. That's really close. Okay, let's roll her up on our side to do this part. And it looks like she fell right into place. Yep, and she did. Now this spring was just about the death of me taking it off on the bottom. But it should go back on really easy peasy. And again, this is one of those where if you took lots of pictures, this part's not really a problem. If you didn't, then you could spend all day long trying to figure out how this goes and finding diagrams online. Oh, so close, so close, so close. Let me pull you to the edge, twist you around a little bit, and work you in. And there you go. And now all our linkage is in place, so we just need to add the bolts to hold this still. We'll do the two bottoms first. Oh, no. Yeah, we'll do the two bottoms first, just because they're easy to get to. And let's guess at this size on the impact. And, oh, we guessed wrong. We don't guess wrong too often, but we do today. Okay. That's officially going nowhere. Now, if you remember, we had this one tiny little screw up here. Let's get our tiny little screw back in place. Okay, that looks good. And I gave her a little bit of a bath. I wasn't planning on doing that until everything was done, but I found it necessary. It was driving me nuts working on it with all that dirt on it. Not a final clean by any means at all, but she looks a whole lot nicer this way. Okay, what's next? Next is that one top bolt. This little slot here is where the tank fits in. And that's nice and tight and not going anywhere. And the linkage is doing its job well. We're pretty close. Let's throw the gas tank on. Nope, that looks pretty good. Look at that, nice and snug. Okay, and she's ready to go. Let's put our 2 big old gas tank bolts on and finish our fuel line. Ah, that's where we needed the other socket. Gotcha. Okay, looking good, looking good, looking good. Now, of course, be careful when you're cutting the fuel line. As we've said a dozen times before, you can cut line off, but you can't cut line on. That's a little bit too long. Maybe a scotch more. Let's grab one of these clamps. Get her all clamped together. And then we're done with the fuel system. She is just almost ready to start. And then the big question is, will it run? Sorry about that. I got distracted away because they're putting new water lines in, and I've got a really long front yard. So the guys just tore my sprinklers up, and they were asking me questions about it. So now it's the next morning, but I'm ready to get back to the engine. So let's see if we can get her started. Now this thing probably hasn't run in like a decade, so God knows what we're in for here. Let's prime her up a whole bunch. Okay, wish me luck. Oh, she almost kicked. Now I put a new spark plug in it. That was really not half bad. I wasn't sure if this motor would even be savable because it sat so long. And it's kicking and sputtering just a little bit, but nothing that a little bit of an adjustment won't fix. So, off to the rest of the cart.